I just want to say, you guys are doing a great thing. It's such an uncomfortable topic to talk about, especially for a guy, young guys in their early 20s. And, I'm glad that, I could tune in and, listen to you guys.
Spencer Kobren's The Bald Truth.
Hey, guys, we made it. For crying out loud. It's always
Where's
something.
the Christmas music?
You know what? F Christmas. I'm just kidding. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah. Merry Christmas.
Happy Hanukkah.
It's Hanukkah is actually the day after Christmas this year, which is interesting.
That is interesting.
And people, do me a favor. I like Christmas presents. I hate being the guy. It doesn't matter what family I'm involved with. Doesn't matter where I go. I get the Hanukkah wrapping, and I got to tell you, it's boring. I never loved the colors. It's not Christmassy. I appreciate it.
Is this a preemptive?
Yeah, I'm like the big Jew in the room always, but I like to celebrate Christmas with everybody else.
Fake it till you make it.
Jesus. Phone number 888-659-3727. We are live. Before we take your calls, if we get any, I got to tell you, I have a problem with social media. I really do. So I decided to maybe just post something educational about SMP, just from the show. No dancing bear nonsense, no crazy edits, no juggling plates, no, all the happy horse shit that we see online. If I post something where I'm like standing on one leg in my studio, like pointing out somebody's bad, the fact that derma rolling may be bad, I'll get 400 likes in a minute. If I just sit there and seriously tell the truth about something else, like really provide a full education, nobody gives a shit.
No.
It's
you have to be shaming someone, naming someone.
It's unbelievable.
Criticizing someone. Yeah. That's what gets eyeballs.
And it doesn't matter if you have 10,000 followers or 100,000 followers. Even your followers are like, okay, yeah, great, he's educating us. We want to see him shame somebody.
Whoopee. Oh, he's saving us from a mistake we'll regret for the rest of our lives. Whoopee.
We want to see the lady with the 7 hairs on her head before we see your face, Kobren.
Exactly. That's why the drama channels, like the Greg Doucette's of the world, always talking about drama that doesn't actually exist for clicks.
Yeah, dude,
little soap operas.
I have
no
to
one
say,
understands to begin with.
Well, I have to say it's interesting because I tested the waters. I was just like, all right, let me see what happens if I start juggling stuff for people. If I go out there and I do the quick cuts and talk about somebody, maybe do a sequence of somebody screwing up or doing something inappropriate for themselves that could end up harming other people. And if you start with like the really effed up images, just flies, man, absolutely flies. And what's interesting is this particular video got plenty of views, in the first hour or two. But no one takes the time to engage with it because it's not meaningful to them unless you're basically spreading your legs, metaphorically.
I will say that it could, the subject matter itself could have a bit of a contribution to that because SMP isn't really in the mainstream like surgery is, I think.
How
I don't know,
dare you?
That one.
I'm trying to help people avoid getting their heads tattooed poorly. You're right, Joe.
But no one does it. No one's doing this. I mean, there are people doing it. It's just
I thought
in the
at
grand
least
scheme of things.
I thought at least more
surgery is
SMP
much
guys.
more
I thought at least more SMP guys would be angry with me for telling the truth, and maybe that'll get a little bit of a, But I have to tell you, the SMP guys who came out, who commented, were very, one actually thanked me for spreading this information, for telling the truth. Mm-hmm. Another guy was kind of trying to describe the depth and that it's really not permanent. And the only time it would be permanent, all these things, is if you go too deep, something like that. So the permanent guy, the trichopigmentation, is not really being sold generally throughout the U.S. and around the world. It's the so-called permanent stuff, but the guys that are selling the permanent stuff are now saying that it's not permanent and that it will fade.
At least they're being honest.
I think that's good.
Yeah, of course.
But the guys that are offering the permanent stuff, apparently, at least according to this person who does SMP, are not offering, what's really beneficial. But there's one guy did say that if someone comes in, it doesn't matter what race they are, it doesn't matter what their ethnic background, if they want a lineup, a square, they'll give it to them because it'll fade anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe they should have sit down and have a conversation and say, look, this is the way the average, Caucasian would look, with a full head of hair, would look, even if they have a low hairline, if they shave their head. And it's probably not going to look like, Gina Martinez from down the block with the tiny hair, with a tiny forehead, That's just usually doesn't occur in nature. Maybe some Italian guys. It's possible. I've seen a couple.
Could be.
Ronald Reagan was an exception. But it still wasn't straight. He's not a widow's peak.
No, it wasn't straight. Yeah, he had a widow's peak. He had a little bit of undulation going on.
That's a good word. I don't even know what it means. Undulate. Oh, yeah, I do know what that means. Sorry, I'm getting old.
That one is.
Yeah.
You've used that before, my friend. I know that.
I've used it. I've used it in the bedroom.
The thing
apparently.
about S&P, I still believe that one of the most important things that the consumer can ask one of these artists or these professionals is when they're told that it doesn't fade until X number of years, then the very next question needs to be, well, how long have you been doing this? And if it's less than they say that it takes for the pigment to fade, then the next logical question is, then how do you know?
Yeah.
It just there's so much BS being thrown out. Like the people even talking about it, they don't even process what they're saying, because the moment you ask them that important question, that common sense question that doesn't seem to be so common sense, they get stumped. They're like, and they don't know what to say. It's like, well, yeah, I have been doing it for 5 years, and I did just tell you it lasts 7 years or whatever. That's what I was told. That's all they can say.
I just took a clip from last week's show. I really needed a haircut last week. I'm glad I got one. But I'm walking around Los Angeles, and I don't walk around much anymore because it's a totally different town. I have to tell you, contrary to your friend Hudson's belief, I'm not a small person. So I walk around in my life. I usually have never felt threatened by, walking around Los Angeles or New York City. It's insane now. It's like playing Frogger. You got to cross the street because you don't know if you're going to be spit on. People just walking around like in blankets, screaming at the top of their lungs. This is in Century City, in Beverly Hills, in Westwood.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? I'm going to have to throw down with somebody? Now, it's unlikely that these guys know any jiu-jitsu or anything, so I'm probably pretty good there. I mean, I would never fight a young kid today because everyone's a trained fighter now. But I don't want to be around, you can get a disease. You don't have to be grappling on the floor with one of these homeless dudes. I'm sorry if that's politically incorrect, but we live in a cesspool here. Anyway.
The truth always wins.
But when I'm out, I see these kids, these young, balding kids who are early, mid-20s, skaters, shit like that, with these helmet SMP drawings on their head. all over Los Angeles. It's a new normal. It doesn't matter if it looks normal or not. It's kind of like these young girls, and we've spoken about this before. Guys, call in. We just had you guys. We had 2 lines lit, holding on. These guys must be from fucking Instagram. No patience. We'll take your calls if you call in. The lips, yeah. So, I mean, there's this new normal created, and now it's happening with SMP. Now, it's finally coming out, and even the injectors, and sadly, they'll be out of a job eventually, but the plastic surgeons, the facial plastic surgeons, the dermatologists are saying, maybe filler wasn't a great idea. And they're kind of walking it back saying, now it's a new trend that women are getting their filler in their lips dissolved. That's not why they're doing it. They're not doing it because it's a trend. They're doing it because it is now kind of widespread and well known that this stuff is not good for you. It doesn't go away. It migrates to other parts of your body. It can cause problems that no one, smart people, critical thinkers anticipated. But no one in the aesthetics industry wanted to talk about because there's a lot of money to be made. That's it. Yep. You don't have to perform surgery to be in aesthetic medicine. You can just be an RN or a physician's, is it a physician's assistant? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, PA.
And, if you do have a busy plastic surgery practice, you can hire these people to be injecting lips and filler and cheeks and this and that and jawlines all day, making your practice an extra thousands and thousands of dollars a day while you're performing surgery and doing consultations.
Yep.
And for those who aren't, yeah, go ahead.
You sound just like the doctor in that recording that we heard.
Which one?
Talking about the benefits of one of these FUE devices, where while the technician is performing the surgery, you can be in your other consultation offices and procedure rooms giving injectables.
Oh yeah, what's your name? That Texas plastic surgeon.
Yeah, I forgot her name.
This is going to sound horrible, but this is what I've learned over the years. The more these people are revered within their own societies, the more press or, public relations, people that have like their own PR people that get a lot of press in the old days. And now the online influencers, it really, sadly, for the most part, first do no harm has been thrown out the window and replaced with show me the money. And they've somehow been able to reconcile this in their minds. I don't even know how that's possible, but I've spoken to some plastic surgeons, facial plastic surgeons, forget about the hair guys. Just getting into the industry, they had to reconcile certain things. But they bullshit themselves so much, they actually believe, to some degree, what they're telling people online. And especially if they become famous, that they have 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, whatever, 800,000 followers, and they become an influencer. There's no stopping them. The nonsense never ends. So I'm telling you people, guys and ladies, if you're listening to this program, the vast majority of what you see is complete nonsense online. The vast majority of what these board-certified board-certified dermatologists are telling you about hair loss, sadly, half-truths. At best. Guys, hold on. I'll take your call in a second. 888-659-3727. As bad as we talk about, as bad as the hair industry is, mainstream cosmetic surgery is just as bad, if not worse. What I see walking around here in Los Angeles, these poor girls, and some of these women are beautiful young girls.
And guys. And poor guys.
Poor guys. Well, with a lot of bad hair transplants, but the facial stuff too. But mostly the girls are getting the injectables and they're being distorted. I've actually tracked one girl from a distance, totally respectfully.
Weren't you warned against that?
Who's been here where I live for several years, a pretty well-known influencer. Don't choke, dude. You all right? You need some water,
Yeah,
Joe?
I'm good.
Okay.
No, that's why I was coughing.
I have watched her face evolve into something that I would
Through the
say.
window.
What'd you say?
I've been watching her face evolve through the window.
Through the window. You know, I'll go down to the gym or I'll go get a drink or whatever it is. Very nice young person. Very friendly.
Through the window.
Beautiful. Came in like, oh my God, this girl is like a natural beauty.
Mm-hmm.
The tweaks, everything that's happening, she's like a dead man walking. You know what I mean? Like she is essentially throwing herself onto the aesthetic fire. It's almost like she's a science experiment. I hope she's not listening to this. I don't think she is.
I've known women like that
Yeah.
just unnecessarily have transformed themselves into different organisms.
Different species. But the thing is, it's not her fault.
Different species.
People blame her. Oh, she didn't do her research. Or she went to a bad injector. She went to... No. It's all bad.
No.
It's all bad. It will never end well for any of these women. Now, they're not going to like it that I'm saying this, but this is the truth. I'm not in that industry. I decided not to do it. I had a tremendous opportunity and to make a lot of fucking money, too. I did one live with a big website, and after that, I was like, I cannot get involved with these people. These are worse animals than the hair industry, than the hair animals.
And that's saying a lot.
Absolutely. Let's take a phone call. 888-659-3727. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Adrian from Melbourne, guys. How are we?
Adrian,
I knew
man.
it would be you.
Adrian's always
How are
saving
you?
the show.
Yeah, how are we? Yeah,
First of all, can you hear us?
absolutely.
All right,
Loud
good.
and clear.
Good.
Good
Close
stuff.
enough to be holding your hand couple skating, Spencer.
Dude, let me tell you something.
The music was
Early
that
in the
good.
early
I'm sorry,
'80s, forget about me on roller skates with a cigarette hanging out of my mouth. It was insane.
Yeah, and it wasn't tobacco you were smoking either. But hey, forget that. That's back in the past. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was a really fun podcast from Y. I know you're there, so thank you for. I can't remember if it was morning for me or afternoon, but yeah, that was very light and funny, and I think was a great way of showing someone's pain can be transformed into a bit of joy. It's Christmas. Joy,
Absolutely.
happiness.
Well, if you're
And
listening,
it was
take
fun.
this in the spirit that's meant. But she's a tough bitch. I mean, and she is really. I think she conveys a lot of not only the strength but compassion, and I just find it unfortunate that there aren't more people who are seeing her message or who understand it. Perhaps I think like maybe Harry from Bald Cafe should contact her. Like, let her do like a shaving on the air with him. I don't know.
Absolutely, that's a great idea. That's a great idea.
I'd watch that. That'd be fun.
Because it was I was watching it. I was just like, first of all, I mean, you're cracking me up in the room. So the room was fun. Everyone was having a good time. I saw that she was laughing when she was reading the comments, and she's this beautiful woman shaving her head.
Yeah, and then it's still a beautiful woman when she's finished.
Absolutely.
What else do you want
I was a big
in live entertainment?
That's it. And I was just concerned that I was taking away from the seriousness of the pain. But then I thought, no, why shouldn't things be fun? Why shouldn't things in life transform from being bound to a life sentence? So,
Dude, brother,
yeah,
if I were her, I'd be doing that on OnlyFans if I looked like that. Are you kidding me?
Make some money doing that.
Just shave it. No, stop. No, leave your clothes on. Just keep shaving the head. That's
And
right.
by the way, nothing weird. Why? I'm not trying to hit on you here. If you're listening, you are listening. This is just the truth. You have like this incredible bone structure. You're incredible looking.
Is that a one guard? Is that a one guard?
You're incredible looking person. That's it. That's all I'm saying.
Go against the grain.
Thank you, Spencer.
Can you go?
You too, Adrian.
You talking about me or who are we talking about?
Why? Well, I'm talking about both of you, actually. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, absolutely, I concur with everything you've said. Absolutely, but I think Joe, I just messaged you on some pics of SMP. That was the reason why I was going to ring, and it just shows that. And you've said this before that initially, when you see pictures of people who've had SMP, and the ones I think I've given you, Joe, they might be like a week old, 2 weeks old. But generally, you see people just after they've had it. Their scalp's a little red, obviously, still, and it looks good. But I can't find other pics on my phone where you do see those scars start to protrude. Not so much the punch graft scars, but there's a line below that where I had that excised out, a strip taken out of punch graft scars, and the eye just wants to seem to follow geometrical patterns. Where like FUE type scars, that they're a lot more successful. But eventually it does fade. I think it's been 8 years at least, maybe, since I had my SMP before I had the hair transplant. And I can look through in the mirror and I can see, it's faded dramatically. But as you say, it's still there, but it's very faint.
Well, I mean, I think it's good that it fades, and I think it's good. But I think a lot of people, once it starts to fade, they're going to try to get retouched. And I think it depends on how deep it is, the type of ink that's being used. And, if people continue to get it retouched and the ink still stays, eventually it's just going to become a confluence of color and ink.
Yeah, and that's the danger too, because, look, it's a bit like hair greed. You do get kind of ink greed. It's real. And I found myself in that situation, mainly for the scars, because it would look fantastic, then it would fade, and the scars were the things that I was concerned about. That's the only reason I got it. And you find yourself wanting to go back and you think you can touch up the scar, but what you end up doing is, it's like a painting. You get to a point where, okay, it's done, but you just, you keep on going. You've destroyed it. So, I was a fan of SMP. Today, I just shave.
Yeah. I think, look, I'm still a fan of it for certain situations. And, I think in a lot of cases where, like in a case like yours, it's a matter of recognizing what, when you are in that greed phase, where you realize that more isn't always better, and that it is better to wait to give it more time to settle down and see what it's going to do before you decide how you're going to move forward. It's not, a lot of people, most people are looking for that fix. It just, you do it once, you do it twice, and you can forget about it, and it just doesn't exist with any sort of treatment. And
Nothing.
With SMP, you got to be just as careful as if you were going through hair transplant surgery, because it is always changing, because your skin's always changing, and you don't want to overdo it. It's always best to wait longer to see how maybe the fading progresses to where you can safely go back in and do some touch-ups, real touch-ups, not where a touch-up is actually redoing the whole thing. With caution, with low expectations, people can have really good outcomes, and for their lifestyle and for their own journey, it can make existing out in the public that much easier. It's not perfect, but to the casual observer out in the public, they'd have no idea.
That's true.
If it's a job that's done well. But the problem is that as patients, we're the ones obsessing about it and worried about it. We already have like shitty self-esteem because of the problems that we're trying to camouflage, And so, yeah, it's a battle understanding what looks good out in public versus what looks good to us. You know?
Yes, I think you're right. I think if you take into account the limitations of, well, anything, but let's say SMP, it can be a big difference. And for me, it was a huge game changer because it got me out of a hairpiece for 20 odd years. That was the biggest.
And also, I mean, it was all motivating steps to get to where you are right now. Like you were not considering getting any more surgery. You didn't even know that it was possible to be repaired at your, level of disfigurement, as I think you once told me. And
absolutely,
yeah. So, I mean, I think it was all just a positive move for you to get out of the piece. And look, you also had good experiences with the piece. I mean, you said you were very open about it. It didn't really stifle you in your life for the most part, from what you explained to me.
No, wearing a hairpiece is something I kind of celebrated quite literally when I first wore one. And then, I don't know, it's through my 20s and 30s, but by about the age of 40, I was really starting to feel like it was a ball and chain, because we then started having role models like, The Rock, Bruce Willis, whoever.
Yeah.
So what's in vogue in one period isn't in another, and vice versa. But I look back, and you made a good point. It was all stepping stones. They're all stepping stones to where I am today. So there's a bit of gratitude in that.
Now, Adrian, I know that you're very involved in the hair transplant world now, online hair transplant world, and when you see these guys who are participating on the forums, or when you are advising them on moves to make, or what about certain doctors in general, I mean, I haven't read any of your stuff, and I'm not really involved in the forums that you're involved in, but what's the general sense? They normally come in with these incredible hopes, even if they go on one of the major message forums? Are they, for the most part, ignorant to the reality of what's going on still? I know they are in Reddit and on Instagram. But when they finally reach a place that is just purely a place for hair transplant surgery, do you think they've read enough or got enough information and then found these places and they realize what the entire scope and possible pitfalls are? Or do you still think they're pretty naive?
Oh, no, they're still very naive. And if anything, they covet whatever little trickles of cyber info they can get from Reddit or from this or from social media. There's still the constant question that comes up probably once, twice a week. Where is the best clinic in Turkey? Yeah. If I had $1 for every time I read that, I'd be a rich man. I wouldn't be at work right now. I still would be at work now because I can still ring you. So it's not a bad job. Yeah. But anyway, having said that, no, look, it's still, it's still very sad. If you and read my post, please do, because most of mine are this. They're like, shave your head if you can. Not as short and sweet as this, but shave your head if you can. You have to be on medication. Give finasteride at least a year, because it can still benefit up to 2 years.
Sure.
Consider oral minoxidil. That takes up to a year to peak. And I'm quoting surgeons who told me this with experience in it. But I just always cringe, and I just say this. I say, look at my little, and there's a little tag story of me under my post, and I'll just say, look at me, learn from my mistakes, because one, they're free, and two, you won't end up with scars.
Well, let me ask you this question. So you're familiar with this guy, Life of Zeph, and you know that he kind of hooked up with this forum and a physician from the forum, and ended up, discussing him having a hair transplant, and these people were kind of praising the fact that they were excited that that he was talking about his potential hair transplant on their platform first, and all this stuff. Do you know his story at all?
I've been hearing about this deaf guy and seeing pictures and whatnot, but not in the context you're saying. No, I just thought he was some.
Well, he ended up getting what I would consider to be a premature hair transplant. This is a guy who was able to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of the stuff that he was doing, in my view, probably wasn't really helping him. But once he started to get on topical meds, and you can get some initial growth from derma stamping or derma rolling correctly, especially if you have very little hair. You're not really causing a lot of damage. And also, when you're young and you lose your hair relatively quickly, the hair it's more easy to resuscitate using these mechanical efforts and using topicals.
Right.
So he lucked out. So he did really well. He got a lot of growth. And his next step is he felt like the hair wasn't growing into full terminal hairs. Didn't know how long the hair would stay in anagen phases. So he started to use different meds. He had just gotten on oral finasteride once he decided to have a hair transplant, or once he, finally signed on a dotted line for this promotional hair transplant. And to me, if I was his physician, I would have been, listen, brother, you just started finasteride. You have no idea how well you're going to do. The fact that you regrew this much hair from topicals, you could end up really pushing these hairs into a much longer anagen phase. And it's possible you're going to regrow more hair. And then maybe if you added oral minoxidil, I'm not saying that he should, but if he was, I guess my point is, if he was advised correctly, at the very least, that physician should have told him to wait a year before he had a hair transplant. Because at the very least, if he does well on medication, he wouldn't have had to have 4,000 some odd grafts moved, maybe half of those, and he would have been fine.
Yeah,
Word.
and absolutely, and he's done it back to front, and that is so common too. It's a case of they won't wait because they feel that at 23 they're running out of time, and I'm like, my God,
yeah,
23.
I have to tell you, in this particular case, he found a U.S. doctor here in California through a place that you know about, and to be honest, this doctor should know better. The doctor, in my view, had a great promotional opportunity. They may be doing some Netflix documentary on this kid because he became such a big influencer. I mean, I was contacted by the New York Times about 2 years ago to talk about this kid because he was really getting out there. And this is when he was pushing rosemary oil and all this stuff, which I think he still is to some degree. But I thought he was a very but I do think he provided a very honest assessment and a reality of, look, he was misled by what's happening online as well. I still think he was misled by the hair transplant industry now. But during that time, he was able to kind of, navigate to the point where he found products that worked, which were topical medications. So he did well, which is great. But I don't know, it just to me, it really illustrates, it magnifies the situation, how bad it really is, because this is a U.S. doctor here in California who should know better. Who should say, you know what?
Yeah.
You're going to have an opportunity to do this documentary, and I'll have an opportunity to perform surgery on you for this documentary, but let's do it in a year. And that's it.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
Let's give you a real fighting chance. And I'm sorry that I'm speaking over you, but it kind of pisses me off. So I saw a video of his where the physician was doing kind of a basic consultation. Providing the surgical assessment and describing what was going to be done to him. And during that consultation on video, the doctor says to Zeph, well, all this, we're not expecting all the hair that you regrew to last. And I just saw this look on Zeph's face. Like, really? Like, is this really a good idea now?
Like, huh? What?
Yeah. Now, that's not necessarily true. The fact that he's on oral medication now, if he does really well, he may get, 2 more life cycles out of that hair. That could last, 10, 15 years.
So this doctor's, he's cashed in his check, it's cleared, and now he's giving him all the warnings he should have done before he even put a punch to his head.
Well, he should have given him all the warnings before he, during that consultation, he should have said, just so you know, this is probably not going to last. So if you are taking oral finasteride now, maybe we should wait a year and see how you do. We may be able to make a completely different surgical plan for you. Instead of going back to front, maybe we just shore up your hairline in a year and you'll be happy, and that could last you for 5 years or more.
But we have a production schedule. It's called a schedule for a reason.
Time is money, people.
We can't push it back for a year.
Yeah.
And, of course, you do realize that by telling this kid that hair is probably not going to last very long anyway, that's just his excuse to carpet bomb the shit out of that hair with a blade or a needle, and not gives really any sort of concern about the longevity of that hair. That could, just proper protocol, proper magnification. You can go in between the hairs if it's thin enough.
Well, I'm going to be completely candid.
That tells me that it's kind of an excuse to say, carte blanche to just go through it with carpet bombing effect.
Well, I did a video on it on Instagram, and essentially I said, look, I'm going to be honest. As far as, in quotes, influencers go, it's probably the most well-executed hair transplant that I've seen on one of these influencers. The hairline was appropriately placed. It was high. Everyone in this guy's feed who were making comments were complaining about his hairline. It was totally appropriate.
You mean the doctor did his job?
Yeah, the doctor did his job. Now, to give full disclosure, this is a former IAHRS member. So the guy has the skill set to do his job. However, if I'm going to be, completely candid, I feel really relieved that I am no longer, just like this other guy who gave a hair transplant to a guy without anesthetic. I feel very relieved not to have this guy as part of the organization, because I think that it was really poor judgment, and I think that it wasn't the best, in my view. I'm not a doctor. It wasn't the best thing to do for this kid for the long run.
Obviously, neither will Spencer. I wouldn't worry about that. That's just insane.
Yeah.
What a crazy stunt.
I think that's exactly what it is. It's a stunt.
What, is he trying to reach out to the Buddhist community or something? Like, because he meditates, it's okay? I mean, that's just crazy. That's just fucking insane.
Well, I actually think as bad as that stunt was, I think that this is irresponsible too. And again, I'm not a doctor, but we all know how well people can do. I mean, especially young guys, once they finally get on oral finasteride, if they cross over into that threshold and they don't have adverse effects, some of these kids grow so much hair, especially if they've only been losing hair for, say, less than 10 years.
Look, I don't think he's in the chat room today, but Ariel Pink pops in sometimes. He's another Aussie. He goes to, he sees Dr. Bevan Borrell, who I see, and he is insane, man. I don't know how old he is. We communicate, but he's a little coy with giving, a picture of his face or name or whatnot. That's okay. I respect that. But
he knows you're a freak, brother.
He has gone from Norwood 4 to Norwood 2 just from medication.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's possible. And that's the thing I try and hold out to people as well, is that, look, it is possible. Don't rule yourself out of the lottery just yet. And this is a lifelong thing, often I say as well. Like, it's not one hair transplant you're going to get. You're going to need over the lifespan probably 3.
But even though this is a well-executed hair transplant, the damage that's done, the microscopic damage, the fact that adjacent hairs may not be usable in the future, the fact that so many were moved in one time in a 2-day procedure on a young guy who really didn't give medication a full run yet, it's heartbreaking to me.
You haven't exhausted your basic tenet, which is medication first. Or shave your head, because you don't know until you've shaved your head, and they're going to shave your head anyway, so always try that. But, look, this industry's sick. Actually, a week ago, Spence, I was asked to be a rep, a consultant for someone who's probably not your friend that we've spoken of. And I had to say no because, you know, I don't sell cars, man. It's not something I could do. So, and the other thing.
Well, when you say someone who's not my friend, I mean that's a long line, brother.
Oh, yeah, right. Get in line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this the
Get in line.
No. I'll say it. It's Pradeep. It's eugenics, and I just thought about it, and I, personally, I do like the guy. He's got a sense of humour and whatnot, and
I don't just like the guy. And the guy's, he's still part of what we do. But
I'm not saying you do this.
No, I'm just saying I know that. I'm just saying I'm honest, and I'm even critical about people who are part of what we do. If I think the criticism is warranted,
valid, yeah, of course. But yeah, the biggest thing for me is I don't need the money. Well, everyone can do with more money, but I thought I've got a job, and the other thing I thought is, I can't do this. I mean, it goes against everything I've been through from day one. It just wouldn't feel right. But the other thing is, I like the fact I've never had anything free. I've paid for everything I've done, so whatever I say isn't built on blood.
I think it's great.
So I've got people who love me. I've got no idea why, and I've got people who hate me. No idea why either. I've never met these people. But at the end of the day, I can still say that this is just my experience. This is just my observation. And it's only been happening for, the last 40 years.
Yeah.
How old are you again, kid? That's what people try and counsel me. They think I'm not relevant because I'm 58. And none of that stuff matters today.
Tell me about it. I have to, I had to figure out a way how to dance around and spin plates on Instagram to get any attention. And I did it. It's
the
working.
Older guys that matter most. We got the experience.
I think eventually they realize that there's wisdom there if they take the time and kind of. Their attention spans are so short, but they take the time to listen.
Yeah.
What I get on
there's some
Instagram,
that do listen, and then there's those that are pissed off because you didn't send them the actual cure for hair loss when they messaged you in DMs.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
It's like,
and they're even saying online. I have to tell you that these young Indian kids, they are the most demanding. I've never seen it. They truly believe that there's a cure for this, and that because I'm a so-called influencer, because I got some more followers now, that what am I doing? One guy said I'm the worst influencer he's ever seen. I don't give any information. Like what?
So I laugh, and only because you have to laugh because that's exactly the sort of shit I hear. So it's like getting a jilted lover message.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy. It is just insane.
Or I'm working for the pharma companies. That all he talks about is the only thing that works are drugs. You got to take drugs. He doesn't talk about anything. Any of these oils or any natural products. Sorry, brother.
Yeah, because it's not a.
Well, I do believe in natural DHT inhibition, but the truth of the matter is you still got to take something internally, and you may need more DHT, to be lowered. These natural products, even the best source products, may be to lower your DHT by 30%, 35%. That may work for some people.
I'm on. I take saw palmetto.
Yeah, and you're probably seeing some results, right?
Well, I have. I went through this sort of a shed experience this year, and that seemed to resolve. Now, it could be any one of 4 or 5 variables that has made the improvement. But I'm also on oral minoxidil, and I have just started topical dutasteride.
Yeah.
A very low dose.
But if you're taking an actual standardized extract, a standardized product at the right dosage, if you were to test your DHT levels before and after, in most cases you would see a lowering of DHT. Now that is something that was written about in the Journal of the American Medical Association back in, I think I read the initial article in 1996. So it's very real. The problem is all these nutritional supplements, you have no idea where they're coming from. You have no idea where they're sourced. There was just a big thing with Nutrafol that and I kind of knew this was the case. I wrote about this stuff 30 years ago. But there was a one case in particular of a woman who is taking the product, allegedly, and ended up with liver disease, jaundice,
Allegedly.
and all that stuff. And
Right.
that's been written about, and there's some sort of lawsuits going on, and allegedly. And, the reality is that can happen with any of these nutritional supplements. If you read about it, green tea catechins can cause liver toxicity if they're taking the wrong dosages, all this stuff. So when people take these natural products, I always say, listen, this comes from nature's pharmacy. You can still have adverse effects if you don't know where they're coming from. And if people are starting to are really promoting like proprietary blends and are not telling you what's in those blends because it's proprietary, that's a red flag. You want to know exactly what's in your product. So anyway, sorry I went off on a rant there, but I mean...
No, that's all right, man.
Yeah.
But look, so, in a nutshell, time is on your side. People feel time is the worst thing going against them when they suffer from hair loss. It's true. But if you're young, you've actually got it on your side. That you've got plenty of time to try medication first. And but at that very young age, late teens or 20s, I don't think your frontal lobe is developed and hardwired enough to make these sort of executive decisions that you feel you're going through in life. But look, I don't know. Again, I just feel I can do better on my own just by just sharing what I've learned.
Let me tell you something. The last thing you want to do in your life as a human being and someone who's been through what you've been through is to sell hair transplant surgery.
Oh, yeah, no, that's a given. I just brought that up just to put things in context.
Here's a counterpoint.
I think it was...
Here's a counterpoint. And Adrian, I've said this to you before, but if you don't believe in what's in the abilities of the clinic, then in my view, then you're selling out.
Yes.
But if you believe in the product, like I've said this more times I can count. I've been in some sort of sales since I was in my late teens, be it bartending, be it cars, be it IT equipment when I lived in just all kinds of stuff. If I don't believe in the product after I learn about it, I can't sell it. Like I can't sit here and lie to someone about what they're about to spend their money on because I wouldn't spend my money on it. But you've been through an amazing transformation. We've been together on this for many years. I remember early on when you didn't think there was anything you could do, and you turned that around. We tried some different things, but we got you on the right track. And the reason why I told you about these different places that I thought might be able to help you is because I actually believed it, and I still believe it.
Yeah.
And so I feel like as long as you always approach the situation with caution, and you preach caution, you preach prevention, you put roadblock after roadblock in front of someone that's actually considering the surgery, just like we do on the show.
Yeah.
Then you're empowering them to be more informed when they go in, but also to have better expectations realistically, not like, oh yeah, I know it might not work out, but more rather, yeah, it didn't actually work out, but I knew that might happen, and I knew I might need to go back in for a second one, and I'm okay with it because it's not, it still looks natural. It's not a disaster because it's a bit thinner than I wanted. That's the difference. And so if you believe in the product and you take every precaution to make sure that you're not pushing it on people and you're actually pushing people away from it, and then they still make it through to the other side to actually having surgery, then you've done your job and you've done it well, meaning that you're not the used car salesman, meaning that you're not the typical hair transplant consultant. Like I see nothing wrong with that as long as you're doing it the right way, which most aren't.
Yeah.
So, but and I'm not challenging your decision because I think it's a great decision. But I think that in anything in life, if you believe in what you've been through, if you believe in what you've experienced, there's nothing wrong with telling others about it. And if you can make a living doing it, there's nothing wrong with that either. It's just how you conduct yourself while you're doing that matters.
Yeah.
Well, here's the problem that I have, and Adrian, I'm going to let you, say what you want to say to Joe, but go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say that the thing is, I like being independent in the sense of just being my own man. It's not for the money or anything like that. It would be for the reasons that Joe's just stipulated before, and I don't feel those reasons about the product. Lots of the product I do, but other parts I have questions.
Sure.
But I like the autonomy of not being nailed down by someone because they're paying me or because there's some sort of remuneration I'm getting.
But that's part of what I'm saying. Sorry to interrupt. But that's what I'm talking about. If you can work for a clinic and still talk, speak well of other clinics and not, put yourself in that corner because you feel any sort of pressure, that's the difference. You don't, and it's there's a strange psychology that goes with this where I won't get into it, but if you keep yourself open like that to where you do feel like you can talk about other clinics and in a positive light, and you can get whomever you're working for, you can tell them that if they don't like it, they can get stuffed. Then you win.
Yeah.
Because you've got the best of every world in that equation, and you don't and you're not beholden to anyone. Still, you're still independent in that regard. But along those lines, what I wouldn't be able to do, no matter how good I felt about the product, I would not be able to work for someone whose idea of education is parading football players and movie stars and producers across their website.
Yeah.
And cricket, that makes me sick. Done. No more of that bullshit. I can't stand that shit. And frankly, I'm happy to be away from it. That is.
Yeah, I was never a cricket fan too, Joe. Yeah. No, you're right.
Well, there you go.
You're
See? Yeah. Cricket sucks, and that's why. No. It's just that kind of behavior is just it's an.
Well, I'm going to say
fine, but I can't.
I'm going to say something real quick. When I first started, it was initially the Bald Truth list in the back. In my book, doctors were not charged a fee to be part of it. I created at the time, I was able to say a recommended list of doctors because there were only 11 doing follicular unit transplantation using microscopes. So when I wrote this book, I wanted to provide information and just kind of a safe place for patients who were considering hair transplant surgery. And it was so obscure based on all the surgeons that were out there. There were so few doing it right that it was easy. And then when I started to put it on the Bald Truth website, my initial thing was look, I believe in what these guys are doing. How about we do this? This is costing me, money to make this happen. I'm trying to get this information out there. It's going to help you guys out as well, but this won't be like a sponsorship or anything like that. But if you want to donate to what we're doing, how about essentially the cost of a surgery at the time? So basically I gave them an option they could be listed on the website. They could either donate or not donate. Only one guy chose not to donate. And we put everybody, donated, chose not to donate. Yeah. And then I'm like, you know what, let's start an organization. And I contacted, at the time, who I thought were two of the most ethical doctors out there, wanted them to be my senior medical advisors. I said, look, we'll work together to get these guys, the best guys together, and just create a place where consumers can go to at least have a fighting chance. And everyone was like, this is the greatest idea, And I was so naive at the time, to be honest, and I was naive about it. I didn't think they just thought it was for marketing purposes. I truly believe they wanted to create an organization that was separate and apart from the trade organization that they were so used to being a part of, like a real society, a real medical society, and a consumer-oriented one at that. I come to find out really quickly that was not their intentions. They just wanted, they were applying, they just wanted pure marketing. And then the bad guys would get out there, the so-called competitors, the people who thought they were competing against the IAHRS, which is insane to me, and kind of lumped me in this position where I was just like taking money from doctors to promote doctors. And it was all a promotional paper play thing. I had to deal with that for years. I knew what I was doing. I knew that wasn't the case. I knew that I was at the very least giving people a fighting chance. And what, doctors are paying $20 a day to be a part of something that, was important for the field and for consumers. And I couldn't do it for nothing. So
Yeah.
if I were to do it all over again today, and here's the thing, I've never drawn a salary from the organization to this day, which is pretty interesting. Now, I didn't say I didn't make money. I just didn't need it to live on. So these guys still can't compute that. But just dealing with the bullshit of that over the years, and now it's kind of different because we've been around for 23 years, so it's looked at differently by the mainstream. It was not a position I ever wanted to be in, And if you put yourself in that position, all the friends that you've made online, everything, like if you're selling hair transplants in their mind, even if you're not, and doing what Joe is telling you to do, you're going to deal with a lot of shit that you don't have to deal with. And it's disheartening.
He already does.
Yeah, but it's disheartening. And the guys that really have caused the most shit in my career over the years are the guys that are claiming to be advocates in this field. It's absolutely insane.
And look, just the last thing I'll say from my experience is just in the last, very short period, 3 years, maybe 4, I've made some amazing friends. Like there's some horrible trolls on forums and Reddit and Instagram and some of these replies you're getting, you were saying, Spence, from young Indian kids and whatever. But I've made some amazing friends all around the world. Some are doctors, some are related, some aren't, some are patients. This show, for one, I don't watch TV, but this is what I call my TV. I get the laptop out and watch it. And there's been a big plus to this whole experience, and it's not just about getting hair back and hiding scars. It's people like yourselves and some of the doctors and a whole heap of people that have gone through the same pain. And that was reflected the other night when Y did a live stream. And I'll move on just so other guys can ring in. But I want to thank you too, because you guys have been at the centre of that, and it's both of you, But Joe, particularly reaching out to me, and that's something I can never pay back. So look, guys, I want you to have a Merry Christmas.
You can try.
Merry Christmas, brother.
I'm saving now. And I won't go full homo this time, but I just want to thank you, mate, and Spence too. The support you've given me and everyone is something that you can't find anywhere else.
Yeah, whatever. No, thanks, brother. I'm just kidding.
Maybe I should sell hair transplant.
No,
that sounded great. No, take care, guys. Have a great.
All right, Merry Christmas, brother.
Take care. You too.
Thanks for the call.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Well, another busy show. What time is it?
Right on. It is 4:19.
No, Rob, I didn't knock the gray out of my hair. My hair is just as gray. It just depends on how I like the studio on the day. I didn't bring the heavy overhead light. I didn't put it on time, so I just look. My hair looks darker. But if you see me in person, it's gray as hell, and I love it.
And I love it.
I love it. It's very
Rob,
long.
the call is ended now. You don't need to say it's a very long call. It's over with now.
Look, if we had more callers, it's possible that it wouldn't be a very long call. But this is the way that you guys are. There's nothing. I've realized I do this kind of just as practice. It's good to get in front of the camera and get behind the mic and keep my chops, fresh. And I enjoy bullshitting back and forth with Joe and taking a call here and there. But I know the reality of it. We live in a world now that people just aren't interested. They really aren't. They're not interested in the truth. If I dance around like a trained monkey, I get a lot of a lot of eyeballs, a lot of likes, a lot of comments. People love that shit. The guy with the crazy hairline, old gray hair guy with the crazy hairline that's talking about, what not to do. But as soon as you just sit down and tell them, all right, brother, this is the reality with this, without the fast cuts and the crazy edits and the whooshes and all the stuff that people want, they don't give a shit. They don't want to just sit down and listen to a conversation. Now, if I was interviewing and talking to celebrities about their hair loss, maybe they would.
Oh, yeah.
But, you still can't get into the nitty-gritty like you want to. Or if we're talking about future treatments or doing like something like, what's his name from More Plates, More Dates does, which I think is good. I mean, he's great at what he does. He really is. But, talking about gray market products, talking about RU58841, talking about all the breakthroughs that are potentially coming through, talking about, what people, what these people think they're doing, celebrities are doing for their hair, shit like that. That's what people want. Low-hanging fruit, man, like our friend who does it, plastic surgeon friend, facial plastic surgeon friend, he's crushing it. I don't want to talk about John Travolta's hair.
And I find it weird that people do.
I don't find it weird. I understand it. I understand the way culture works, but I don't want to do it. I'll dance around like a bear for a little bit, do some fun stuff on Instagram. It's growing. It's fun. I know I'm helping a lot of people. But I know putting up clips of the show, no bueno. That's not going to happen anymore. Short attention span, people don't like it. Let's see who this is. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this and where are you calling from? Caller, you're on the air.
Hello.
505 area code. All right.
I hear you breathing.
See ya. 888-659-3727. Phones are open, so feel free to call in.
John Travolta doesn't have any hair. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, I mean, he has some hair, but he Bic shaves it. Like he shaves it down to the skin, and then he's wearing a wig and everything that he's in, unless he's bald in the.
Doesn't matter. All you have to do is put his picture up and describe what he may or may not have had done, or the pieces that he's wearing, or whatever it is, or describe how much someone's procedure may or may not have costed. If costs. If they did in fact have a procedure, or find out why. Here's the skinny on Lindsay Lohan's latest latest surgery, or. That's what people want.
Well, that's interesting because she looks like a completely different person, in a good way. Like whatever she had done, it looks good. That's worth watching.
You're really changing, brother.
I'm telling you, Timothy Riley, the Instagram Reels are going to bring callers. Funny enough, not really.
No,
not so much. Spencer's got well over 100,000 followers now on Instagram, which blows my mind.
Yeah,
congratulations.
Like if I go live on Instagram, I'll get calls.
Those are the people that just like to watch and scroll.
Yeah,
read for the cure, see if the cure for hair loss is there. If not, then they just move on to Lindsay Lohan or something.
Yeah. Well, you know what? They don't like to change platforms. So
right.
I do notice if I go live on Instagram, which I do, I think it's kind of cool to do a live call-in show on Instagram. No one does it. I think it's cool. It's a pain in the ass, honestly. I'll get calls, and that's great. And it really becomes hair loss 101. It's really the most basic stuff, which is important too.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But some of these guys that call and you're just like, oh my God, how is this possible in almost 2025? And they still believe that pumpkin seed oil is going to benefit them topically. in some way. I mean, how is this real? Again, when I think about it, I mean, you ask about their family history, and again, my father's been balding since whatever, 1975, whatever. It's like, well, don't you think he would have a full head of hair if any of this stuff worked? This was all available in the 80s and in the 90s and in the 2000s, including topical minoxidil, Rogaine. If it was so powerful, if it was such a game changer in the world of hair loss, no one would choose to be bald, or very few people would choose to be bald.
Right.
It's very possible that Jason Statham never would have shaved his head. He'd be a totally different person if Rogaine was a game changer. The Rock, he was trying to hold on. He was trying to hold on in the 90s.
So glad that he didn't.
Yeah, but if this stuff worked to the degree that people claim that it does, especially to all topicals, he wouldn't have shaved his head. Joe Rogan,
Classic, like the classic case.
Classic. And I had this brief communication on MySpace of all places. And if I remember correctly, Joe, if you're listening, you may not remember this, or maybe I got it wrong, so forgive me. But I'm pretty sure he was talking about this guy, Richard Lee. Is that his name? Remember Richard Lee, the doctor here in Los Angeles who was he was one of the first guys to do compounded minoxidil with azelaic acid and other stuff.
Yeah, Dr. Lee. Yeah, Dr. Lee. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he was either asking me about his products, or he said that he was using his products for a while, and then he was upset that I don't know if he was upset that he was shut down, but this is a guy who wanted to save his hair. He went as far as to have at least one hair transplant. I think it's probably more like 2, but I'm not sure. Maybe 3. If these topicals worked for the long term, for the long game, for the long haul, he wouldn't have had to shave his head. Now, he's a guy who probably should have shaved his head when he was 25 because he's super handsome and he looks good with a shaved head. But he didn't know at the time. He probably thought he was going to end his career.
And it didn't.
Well, his career took off after that, but it wasn't because of that. But, I mean, he didn't have to go through the entire process for getting his head cut open. And honestly, a responsible physician would have said, look, let's see if you're going to do well on medication. I don't know if he ever took finasteride, orally. I don't remember him disclosing that to me or not. And it was a very brief online back and forth, so it's not like I've ever hung out with the guy. But he certainly had access to all this stuff.
Yeah.
Now, a responsible doctor would have said, and someone who really knew their shit, even back in the 90s, would have said, look, brother, you got to really be doing well on these meds before we decide to cut your head open. If you're just worried about your career or your show, whatever it is, get yourself a little, he kind of wore like a Caesar. Get yourself like a little hairpiece. You can wear it as a Caesar. Those are easy, makes it much easier since you're hiding your hairline. And this way you don't have to get your head cut open. And let's see how the medication works for you.
Pretty good deal.
Well,
Not getting your head cut open.
But I say all this stuff because it doesn't matter how hard we try or what I talk about, even on a platform like Instagram. These young kids, they don't believe it. They somehow think. I got an email, a DM about an article that was rewritten about that naturally occurring sugar in your body. Don't even want to name it because people are going to start going crazy thinking it's going to cure the hair loss. And, scientists realized when applied topically to mice that this seemed to work as well as Rogaine. Great. Now, will it work as well as Rogaine with an initial growth and will it last? Is it going to somehow change the hormonal balance of your body? Or is it just going to act as a vasodilator or some sort of a growth stimulant? Which there's nothing wrong with that. That could really help you in the long run. But this guy wrote me in big letters, like, there's a new breakthrough. Have you seen this? There's no breakthroughs yet. Now, with AI and with what's happening in science, and I think there's a greater possibility of something happening now than ever before. That I'm convinced of.
Yep. Despite Stimson Therapeutics shutting down because of lack of additional funding. Something will happen.
What I'm saying is, I think now, if people really put their minds to it, and the minds of AI, minds in quotes, then maybe something can happen. Maybe we'll be able to repurpose medications that we had no idea could actually help with hair loss, and really, put this into some sort of an equation, see what AI spits out for us.
I'm convinced that will be the accelerator for not so much a cure, but a more effective and we'll just say a more effective treatment that's better than what we have now.
Yeah,
AI is going to find it, and it could be as simple as just adding a molecule to something that's already out there, like you said, just repurposing something that we already have. It could be that simple. It's just we'd never think of it. AI could do that.
I'm working on it right now.
I'm working on it as we sit here.
Yeah. It's actually working for me. I can see it on the screen.
Hold on, I'm working on it.
It's like that movie War Games. 888-659-3727. I'll take this call, and that may be it for today. Hey, you're on the air. Who's this, and where are you calling from?
Hey, it's Dr. Ken Anderson, Atlanta, Georgia.
Hey, Doc, how are you, brother?
What's up, Doc? How you doing?
Good. Good, man. How you guys doing?
I cannot complain. Holiday season. I may go out tonight. I don't know. Have a drink. It's been a while. We'll see.
I can complain, but no one really cares. So why bother?
I'm excited. I'm not really excited about the Penn State game, but I'm gonna. I have to watch, right?
Yeah. I see you got the mug there.
Yeah.
They got. I was impressed by Oregon's performance.
Well, I think that it's definitely going to be fun. So what's happening?
Have you guys, Joe? How you doing, man?
Good.
Is it snowing up in Vancouver yet?
No, it's way too warm. It's about 55 degrees, and It's been raining nonstop for days. Like it's crazy. But I'm getting ready to leave on Monday, going to Miami, and
nice.
all over Florida for almost 2 weeks visiting family, and can't wait. It'll be exciting. Good stuff.
Well, I'm sure you'll have a good time, man. Hey, listen, have you guys heard anything or talked to any doctors who've had any experience with the Folex fractional laser treatment from Luminous?
I actually have. I spoke to Neil Sadek at length about it. He was the guy that actually, I think, tested it in his clinic and did one of the clinical trials. I mean, according to Neil, he's seen substantial results. I have been in touch with the company. They were considering getting trusted brand status. At this point, all I can say is it doesn't look like that's going to happen. However, I mean, I think it's sexy. I think that if there's any benefit to patients, then, why not? I just don't know how much it's really going to help patients in the long run. According to Neil, according to Neil Sadek, he's very high on it, and but who knows? I mean, I know that he doesn't do a lot of hair in his practice, and he's kind of just like a known dermatologist that is connected with all these different companies.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't. They're talking to me, and they want to, get me as one of their luminaries and promote it. But there's just a dearth of, they've got their own company data, but there haven't been really any studies that I can find.
Well, I think they're having trouble selling it to the hair world. This is a medical device company, a laser company. They're getting into this. And I think, listen, when I spoke to Neil about it at length, I was like, look, let's take a look at everything. I'm interested. I want to learn more. When the original press release came out about it, and I think it was in June, the amount of people writing the American Hair Loss Association was pretty intense. So that's one of the reasons why I spoke to Neil about it at length. Then I spoke to the company about it. We discussed how, trusted brand status works, what it would do, in the consumer's eyes, what it could do for the company. And there's a process to this, And at least at this point, It can't work out. So I'm not saying that the product doesn't work, and I'm not saying that we're not going to endorse it at some point. I know there are some doctors. I think Craig may have one. And but my concern is this. Once you get involved with these companies, Ken, you become like kind of the face. They want you to become the face of these products. And if it's not really doing what you think it can do in the long run, then it's not always a great idea for your practice and for your reputation.
Right. And that's a concern of mine. If I need to be more sure that I'm going to get positive results, although it seems to have FDA approval, which I'd like to see those studies.
Well, it's not.
But you're right.
It's
I
FDA,
don't want
it's FDA cleared. This is a medical device. Even though it's a laser, it's not FDA approved. So it's FDA cleared.
I got it. Got it.
It's FDA cleared. It's 510K clearance. It's a I forgot the clearance type for these particular lasers. I see potential. I don't have a crystal ball, but I do know that it seems like they're having trouble getting it into real hair people's offices. So
that tells me a lot.
To me.
Well, I will. I was going to say, there's. When I started back with Bill Rassman in 2003, we had, you got your Rogaine, you got your oral finasteride, and there you go. And now there's just a panoply, just so many different things to talk about.
Yeah.
You got your PRP, Nutrafol, you got topical medications, you got oral medications, you got laser caps. I think it can be a little bit overwhelming to the patient. And now I'm thinking, well, okay, and we're going to do a laser. And one of the patients, the patient asked me, well, which would be better, topical medications or a laser? Or if they start asking me to compare and contrast, which one should I do? We're already asking the patients. Personally, I tell my patients, the typical male pattern hair loss, that a topical medication, a laser cap, these are things that are going to help. ERP can help, periodically. Nutrafol, vitamins, these are things that can help. But I think if we just add another treatment to the list, I don't know how that's going to fit into the general scheme of things.
Well, yeah,
because I think it's already getting confusing for patients.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen the latest on and it's not a big. This could happen with any nutritional supplement, but there's been some talk going around, and there's at least one patient, and I think there's a lawsuit. And again, this is all recent information that came out in December. Apparently, what you saying, Joe?
Allegedly.
Yeah. Apparently, a woman taking Nutrafol for about 5 months, even though there is no direct correlation, it was really the only thing that she was taking that changed her liver function. When she stopped it, her liver function started to go back to normal. She was she essentially had some potential or close to liver failure. And you have to
Oh
understand
my goodness.
all of these nutritional supplements, whether it's, saw palmetto can cause liver toxicity if it is not standardized, and if people don't understand what the dosages are. Green tea catechins have been linked to liver toxicity in the wrong dosages. A lot of these natural, herbal supplements come from nature's pharmacy. So
Yeah.
the one thing that I always I raise a jaundiced eye to is when a company claims to have a proprietary formula. I think that anything that's offered in a doctor's office or anything that's offered online, all the ingredients need to be put out there and what, the amount of extracts that are in there. So at the very least, patients know, okay, this is what I'm taking. You don't even know where it's being sourced from in most cases, but this is what I'm taking. And I think before any patient takes any of these things, they should have their liver enzymes checked and stuff like that. Now, I know you're a doctor. I'm not telling you how to practice, but I just wanted to make you aware that this is a possibility, obviously.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the info. I had not heard of that. This, as you know, is the busy season for hair restoration surgery, and it's just been really busy days. So I haven't had a lot of time to, catch up on email even, let alone
Well, it's good that you're busy.
do a bunch of research.
A lot of people are busy.
Yeah.
There's some guys in Atlanta who aren't quite as busy as you, brother.
Well, I work hard, and treating hair loss is my passion. But I don't know how everyone's doing, but there's a bunch of us in Atlanta. But yeah, it's very busy.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I mean, you're offering an important service.
Yeah. Yeah, I am. It changes a lot of lives. It feels good. We had a patient back 2 days ago, and he's just thrilled. It feels really good when patients come back and they're thrilled about their hair. I really enjoy that, and also shepherding them through the surgery. Patients are just even today. The guy's like, today's patient. He said, I really expected this to be a lot more intense. I said, I told you, man, it's a cakewalk.
Yeah.
Well, anyway.
Yeah, listen, I wish more guys. Again, we talk about Turkey all the time, but they're also flying to Brazil. They're flying to India. They're flying. I just wish more people understood the importance of even just the hand-holding aspect of having a physician close to home. And God forbid if there's any complications or any real issues that come up. Being close to your doctor, I think, is important, at least in the same country.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Because if you have a complication, what are you going to do? You're going to fly back to wherever? But
well, no, that it doesn't happen. And at least if you are seeing a physician who say is part of the IAHRS, if they're flying to a different state, you can tell the patient, hey, listen, I called this other doctor who's in your state. Go see him, and he'll take care of you. And you can have a conversation with another doctor. There's so many safer options out there. And I don't know, man. I know that you guys talk about this in the hallways at your meetings, but it's just getting so bad. Honestly, what do your colleagues say about what's happening in the industry? Did they talk to you about it at all?
In terms of foreign countries?
What's happening to, even the repair patients that you're seeing, just the way the industry is devolving and what it's turning into.
So I was at the IAHRS meeting recently, and not really. I wouldn't say there was a lot of talk about it. People are mainly talking about, the presentations and so forth, but there wasn't a lot of in-depth talk about the fact that there's so many doctors out there that are just sort of adding hair restoration surgery as another menu item on their list of services, and maybe flying in techs. There's a lot of practices like that. But now
they're talking about it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
And are they still doing?
I didn't hear a lot.
Are they still talking
about
about their Fight to Fight campaign at the meeting?
Oh yeah,
they are.
Yep. Yeah. But it's they weren't real big on specifics. They just, they stress, IAHRS membership. I will tell you though, when I see a lot of patients from out of state all over the country, and when they if they want to get a PRP locally in another state, I always check the IAHRS roster to see first to see if there's someone near them that can help them out.
Well,
you got a strong group of doctors on that list.
Well, I appreciate that, and we appreciate you being a part of it for so long. And I don't know. I don't know if you've seen my Instagram lately, but I've been kind of playing with it a little bit to see if we can get.
Yeah.
I just kind of feel like I need to come out of my semi-retirement and somehow bring the nose up on this ship. And we're getting a lot more attention.
Who's helping you with that? Who's helping you? Do you have help with that?
I have no help with it. I learned how to do it myself. Wow.
I was actually going to give you a call offline and be like, what do you, who, because I think you do a really good job, and you pop right up on my Instagram feed, and
well, you see my studio. Well, I mean, I'm a one man band, brother.
Yeah, I recognized one when you were in your hallway there. I'm like, he's in the studio.
Yeah,
and you got a lot of good content, and I think it's getting some traction.
It's starting to, and hopefully we can make some changes this year. That's my goal for 2025. But Dr. Ken Anderson, you can check him out at IAHRS.org. One of the good guys in this field, very few. Listen, Merry Christmas, brother.
Good to
Merry
hear from you.
Christmas to both of you guys. Good here. Yep, nice to talk with you both. Have a wonderful evening, and be well.
Thanks for the call. Take care.
All right. Take care, Doc.
All right, guys.
I didn't bring the room down with the liver toxicity thing. It's not going to happen to everybody, and it could have been a bad batch. And she may have had some sort of liver issues to begin with. But people have to understand all this stuff is metabolized through your liver, and just because it's natural doesn't mean that you're going to do well with it.
I always refer to the fact that arsenic is natural.
Right.
You don't want to take arsenic.
And I happen to be
natural.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I happen to be a proponent of it. I wrote the first chapter on this stuff, on saw palmetto, pygium africanum, stinging nettle. Everyone else, they took the information that I put together and ran with it and created products. And you know what? That's fine. But you have to know, at the very least, how the products are being manufactured. You'd like to know where they're sourced. You want to know that, there's some third-party credentialing. You can't just take something that's being sold in a doctor's office or a dermatologist's office, or you see a commercial online. If it's going to actually do something positive for your hair, that means that it could also potentially have negative effects because it's strong enough to change your physiology. It's strong enough to affect, hair growth. Lower DHT. So some people aren't going to do well with these things. This particular woman, who knows? Maybe she had, other issues like insulin resistance, and she already had questionable liver enzymes. Maybe she drinks. I don't know. Severely overweight. Yeah. And apparently there's a few people that this has happened to. But I think if you're going to get any of these products at a doctor's office, have your liver enzymes checked. If you're going to buy them online, make sure you're in good health. Just get a checkup before you start anything. Or at least know that you've already, I have, I've had good liver enzymes, my last checkup. I'll be fine. If I feel a little off, just always know exactly what you're taking. You don't just get jaundice. It doesn't just happen overnight in general, unless you have sudden liver disease.
It'd have to be pretty bad to see it quickly, yeah.
Yeah, but it could take months before it happens. But, you have to, I always say, whatever you change in your body, whatever you're putting into your body, just be aware of it. Say, okay, write down the first day you took this, whatever it is, whether it's a drug, natural supplement. There's issues with liver toxicity and resveratrol. Is that how you pronounce it?
Resveratrol.
Jesus, we're both,
something like that.
Both retarded. I can say that again.
I know, right?
Again, green tea canogens. It happens to people. It's not this particular product. It's not just because it's just not. It's not like Nutrafol bad. It's just it happened to happen to somebody who's taking Nutrafol. Now, they may not have been able to make an exact connection, but that's what I guess the lawsuit is claiming, and that's what this person thinks, and whoever's treating her.
Yeah.
But that could happen with any product on the market, any vitamins, any supplement, you know. So anyway, that's why I think it's important, especially if you're going to buy it at a doctor's office, doctors to be aware that, hey, you know, all these natural products can affect people differently. While these things are rare, just be aware, and that's it. And I can speak till I'm blue in the face. No one's even listening. All right, Joe. Let's call it a night.
Okay, let's do it.
All right.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Don't forget to hit the like button. Give us a little bit of love on this happy holiday final episode before Christmas. And I will be traveling all next week and the week after that. So there might be a New Year's Eve special or a show before New Year's. I don't know. Will there? We'll see. We'll see how that works out. I might be on the beach.
With this turnout lately, I don't know. I'll do an Instagram show. Let the guys who are watching on Instagram call in. F you, YouTube guys.
It's all about YouTube. F you, YouTube guys.
Yeah. You know.
We'll see. We'll see how that works out. But
Okay.
If we don't, then Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate, and Happy New Year, all that good stuff. And 2025 is going to be a busy year. Got some stuff coming up. So be sure to like this broadcast. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Could use that as well. And go over to Instagram and follow Spencer at Spencer Kobren. Follow me on Instagram, Joe Tillman Official, and show the love. Hit the likes, hit the shares, hit the hearts, all that good stuff. Comment, all the good stuff that helps us out. So thanks for watching.
Honestly, end of 2024, I've got nothing to promote, and, you know, you guys are on your own. Until next time, be strong, God bless, and thanks so much for listening. Take care.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry for any inconvenience you may have been put to prior to the programme, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. And if you could now leave by the exits at the rear, that'd be splendid. Thank you.